Hello, everyone. I am super excited to be here to share with you about how the meetings went yesterday in the Miracle Valley area. There's a town there nearby, the city of Bisbee, and that's where we met at the county meeting hall areas for the Board of Supervisor meeting in the morning. And then in the afternoon, we met for a work session specifically designed to speak about the future of the Miracle Valley Bible College property that A. Allen established. So that is something that was a long time coming. Just to give you some input and quick background, my name is Rebecca Allen Jones. I'm A. Allen's great granddaughter. And so A. Allen's firstborn son, James, was my grandpa, my dad's dad. And so my dad, Steve Allen, myself, my husband, we have gathered a wonderful team of people to be able to establish a nonprofit in order to purchase this property, because we really believe that God has something in mind for this property in this season, and that the work that God did in the 50s and 60s was incredible, and that there's a fresh season available for this property to be used for God in a new and fresh way. And so in order to be ready for all of that, we wanted to prepare ourselves to be able to purchase it, because it's come into the hands of the state of Arizona. And in order to purchase it at auction, which will come, we have needed to be prepared for that. So we set up a nonprofit. You can go to miraclevalleyOasisCenter.org, miraclevalleyOasisCenter.org. That's the name of our organization. And you can just hop onto the website. You can see the vision is very clear. We've got everything planned out, so you can see exactly when we would be looking after updating all of the buildings, and everything is mapped out completely. We've put a lot of hours and hours of effort into this over many months, and have been working on this since before people knew that there was any threat of demolition. So now that demolition has been on the table since April, it's been something that people have gone back and forth in the county about, and they've wanted to demolish the Tabernacle church building and a few other things. And so what they've done is they've had to go through a process which we held them accountable to as a team. And so they went and consulted with the state historic preservation officer, and that went about in April and May, and they consulted with myself and several people who I brought into that process, so that we could have a team of historians that includes Paul Allen, A. Allen's son, my great uncle, and a few others who are historians in this regard. And so we pulled this team together, and which I led, and I have actually shared who all of those people were in a previous post, and they've just been super helpful. Even Francis Alvarez helped with that. Just so many wonderful people who know the history of this wonderful property. It really poured their time and expertise into helping us to establish what was historically significant about the property. So then that was submitted to the State Historic Preservation Office, and the officer determined that the property is of exceptional importance, and that it is, that means that that's classed as exceptional importance, which means that it then qualifies to be nominated and then listed in the National and Arizona Registers of Historic Places. This is incredible. What that means actually is, so it's not listed, it means that it is in the process of being nominated by ourselves. And what this means though is that because the state owns the property, it's illegal for them to do anything other than preservation work. So they're not allowed to demolish anything any longer, and they're not allowed to do any work that could significantly deteriorate the property. They can only improve and preserve. And so they've cleaned up a bit of dumping that was illegally dumped in the back of the property. That's been cleaned up. And prior to us stopping them, they did demolish a couple of very dilapidated, tiny outbuildings in the back, but none of the significant buildings have been touched. And so all of that has been left. And so they paused to do this consultation. The consultation was successful in communicating the historic value of the property, which we've spoken about in previous posts. And so that then meant that they weren't allowed to touch it, but they needed to have a meeting to discuss what they wanted to do so that they could determine for themselves if they understood the law correctly and were going to adhere to it. So they actually had that meeting yesterday. Several of us, Francis Alvarez, myself, Ron Moen, a few of us spoke in the regular board meeting in the morning at the county and determined to just share and communicate their value of ensuring that they don't make any decisions that would harm the buildings. Now, just as a side note, one of the things that is so special about this eligibility that the State Historic Preservation Office determined is that they actually have subsequently decided that they would like that to be allocated not just to the tabernacle, but to all the buildings on the property, all the buildings associated with the AAL and ministry as a whole. And those buildings all together then are their recommendation is that they all be nominated as a historic district. So they would like for those to be listed as a historic district as something that they are, helping aid us through the process of nominating the property for that. And that is incredible. It does mean that there would be stipulations, but those would only be in place at a certain point, and they are completely reasonable. So it wouldn't cause us financial or physical burden to have that listing, but it would actually open up great opportunity and be really, really fitting, wouldn't it, to have A.A. Allen's ministry given some wonderful recognition for the impact that he had on the country and the state. So what we would love to do is see that actually come to fruition. So we're in the process of that and doing that nomination. But the meetings yesterday were to try and determine for themselves as a county, what do we do with this property? Because it's state owned and they need to sell it and all of that. So what they determined is that they feel strongly, and they reiterated twice in the meeting, the Board of Supervisors, to the gentleman that is in charge of the overseeing of the property, that under no circumstances is any work at all to be done on the property at all. So that means no cleaning of the property, no asbestos abatement, no demolition, no nothing. So they now are making the decision that they will proceed with a auction, and that will be coming up in a few weeks. So I would encourage you, determine how you feel about this. If you want to get behind us, please do. We are in a time where we're going to need to be ready for an auction. It's not cheap, but every dollar counts. So if you do want to give, then please do. Just go to miraclevalley.oasiscenter.org and you can make a one-time donation or a regular donation. We have on the website, under the give page, you can actually see exactly what we're going to do with the money. So there's no lack of transparency. We have a board. We are fully vetted and compliant. You can see everything in our footer where we are an organization with a board, with accountability, and we cannot just, go out to dinner with the money that you put in here. There is a very strict policies around where that money is going, and it's going directly into purchasing this property and getting it fixed up. And that is really exciting. I am really believing that God has something special for this property and for this community in this season. There's something that God is just brewing in people's hearts, and we really want to be a part of that. I also just want to say that there's been a very huge amount of work to get to this point. So I just want to acknowledge the amount of people who have helped and just say thank you to everybody who has submitted your ideas and your thoughts to get us to a point where we can actually protect the property. So the property has been protected. And that is really fantastic that we have actually gotten to a point where they're not allowed to do anything. So praise God for that. That is fantastic. And now let's look and see what God has in store as we look ahead to this short window of time before there is an auction, and just know that God's got this. So I hope you enjoyed that update. And if you have any questions, please do ask them. I have been moving from England, where my husband and I have been missionaries for the last 16 and a half, almost 17 years. And so my plan has been to have a Q&A. I want to do that here shortly, so that if you guys have any questions and you want to know anything, then you can just ask away. So get on our email list if you're not, and you want to learn about that, and just come and hang out with us. So we would love that. All right, you guys take care, and we'll see you soon.